Do we sing the Imperial March now? Or?
On 3.
Dun,
Dun 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 dun
dun.
dun dun dun.
What key did you go?
A different
You
one.
went down.
I don't know why I did that.
Oh God.
As soon as it happened, I was like, "Oh, I see what I've done," but I'm committed, so I have to keep sucking.
Oh God. We'll have to cut that out.
Or we could put it at the front of the episode. Welcome to episode 3 of the podcast. We're still talking about Star Wars. Today we will be talking about episode 5 mostly, but probably all of Star Wars as per the previous episode. I'm Tim.
And I'm the Emperor.
You're going to have to do less of a pause when we do that in the future. What are you doing for Comic-Con?
Poe Dameron.
Sorry, with your really cool Poe Dameron jacket,
Yeah.
which is beautiful and I'm jealous of.
You've got your own.
I have my but it's not his jacket.
I keep buying jackets that you
do.
want, don't I?
Yeah, you did this with the Batman one. As I'd seen it, I'm like, oh, that's kind of cool. Like 2 days later,
and then I was like, you're never having this again.
it's like 2 days later, it's like, oh, you bought the jacket. Okay, that's
you
fine.
can't wear it now, Tim.
The benefit of the Commander Shepard one that I have is that you have not played Mass Effect,
So I will never want it.
so you will never want that.
It is very cool, and I would wear it. But
Oh,
I
yeah.
don't know.
But then people would be like, oh, is that a Mass Effect jacket? And you'd be like, I guess.
I think also your Mass Effect jacket goes well in everyday life better than probably my Poe Dameron jacket does.
A little bit. It's slightly less conspicuous.
Yes.
Um,
You could get away with just having that as just your normal everyday jacket.
There aren't many Star Wars characters you could dress in their clothes just every day and be non-conspicuous.
Yes.
Like, you're not going to turn up to, like,
If
Subway.
the red patches are a bit more weathered, they're a bit darker, because they stand out more, and that's what makes it a bit more, like, that looks odd.
You're not going to...
I get away with it otherwise, because the rest of it looks quite well weathered. I may change it to try and weather the red a bit more, because Dad's quite arty. He was the one who pointed that out, so maybe I could do something for Saturday, and then for everyday life to make it look a bit more fitting in.
Me being the person I am, I would wear the Poe Dameron jacket all the time, but I'm also
I'm going to wear it. I'm just going to try and make it look a bit
Yeah.
more like it will fit, not just in a Star Wars universe.
But I'm also the person who, as a teenager, wore like a big black trench coat that was a replica of the one from that Van Helsing movie that Hugh Jackman did.
Yeah.
Like, that was my day-to-day wear,
Yeah,
so
I
maybe
remember
my standards are different to yours. So should we actually talk about Star Wars now?
I mean, if you want.
Cool. I mean, that's ostensibly what we're supposed to be doing. There is a microphone recording us and our conversation for that very reason.
Oh, God.
Oh, God. Where did this come from? You've only been looking at it for the last hour and a half, probably. So, episode 5,
Yes.
The Empire Strikes Back.
Yes.
A lot of people think this is the best one. Certainly of the original trilogy.
Technically, I agree.
Okay.
From a technical standpoint. When I was a kid, I didn't like this film.
Oh, really?
I thought it was really boring. Not the end of it.
Yeah. But like the
because
rest of the movie.
This is the character piece
Yes.
of the trilogy. So there is less action. I didn't like the Hoth stuff as much as I liked the end battle of A New Hope. Because I've always been a bit more into the space battles anyway.
Yeah.
And I still am now. I like the Hoth stuff now to see it for what it is. I still prefer the Episode 4 battle and Return of the Jedi. But the stuff with Luke and Yoda, I kind of switched off with because it's not exciting to watch, but it's character stuff.
Yeah, it's a character,
and it's
piece,
stuff you appreciate more as you get
movie.
older with the stuff that Yoda's able to do and the way it's shot and things like that. That's stuff you appreciate more as you get older anyway. So this is always going to be the one that kids are going to like a bit less, I think.
There's less of the pure excitement.
It's not fun. It's the dark one.
Well, yes, I think that's probably why I like it so much, because it's the dark one.
Yeah. It's the dark one, and then what comes with that is inherent more interest.
Yes, because there's more nuance, there's more sort
Which is
of
why
the character
Last
drama.
Jedi is going to be...
We fully expect it to be a tonal downshift. Like, everything's going to go to shit for the characters ahead of the third movie where the arc will be resolved.
Well, let's be honest. When everything's going great in films, it's not as interesting as when stuff is going.
Story is built on conflict. If everything's going well, you don't have a film.
Yeah.
Like I remember there was a film, I never saw it, but I saw posters for it probably like 6-7 years ago now, called Law Abiding Citizen. Don't know what the fuck it was about, but the joke at the time was being like, if that movie is like its title, it will be the most boring film on the planet. It's like, oh, it's just a guy not breaking any laws.
It's a guy picking up litter.
Yeah.
That people have dropped.
Like, oh, hey, having a nice day, not breaking any laws, crossing the road at the appropriate point,
Helping grannies cross over the road.
paying my taxes on time. Like, it would be the most boring. Like, obviously, a film called Law Abiding Citizen is going to be about, like, not
It'd be
that.
quite funny, though, to watch him letting you know that he's not breaking the law. Like,
Yes.
just pay for my shopping. As he leaves the shops.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like,
Here's the receipt.
everyone's really suspicious. Like, mate, are you all right?
The twist is that he's not.
Yes, obviously. In both the actual movie and this hypothetical bad movie that we're talking about, that's the twist.
We should make that movie
Oh my god.
of just a law-abiding citizen.
Yes. It would be such a relevant bit of satire 7 years after a movie no one remembers.
That's fine.
I don't even remember who was in it. Like, it was
Oh, Denzel Washington,
someone like that.
or the guy in The Martian whose
Matt
name
Damon.
is unpronounceable. Oh, the black guy, Ejiofor or something like that. I can't remember.
Oh, I don't know.
His name is nothing against his name, but his name is odd.
Yeah, I don't remember exactly. But I've only seen The Martian one time. This is making for great radio. Back to Star Wars, because that's... Oh God.
Are we going to every time we cut something, are we going to go back to Star Wars?
Yes, it's going to be like every third minute someone's going to say back to Star Wars. No, we won't do that. I will edit better than that, is the hope. You are right, though, about it being like conflict is necessary for it to be interesting, right? And it is probably got the most conflict because of this is how stories are structured. Act 1, you set up. Act 2, you throw shit at your protagonists. Act 3, you resolve.
Yeah.
Right? And it's the Act 2 of the story of the trilogy. This is true always when you've got like 3 beats, is the middle movie is just throw shit at your protagonists and see how they deal with it.
Yeah.
Mate, I think the trick and the thing that is difficult to do with like the middle movie of a trilogy is making a movie that is essentially all Act 2 actually have an arc to itself, where that movie self-contained has like a beginning, a middle, and end that is satisfying, even though it's all the middle of the story. I kind of feel like one of the reasons that Empire is a great movie is that it actually pulls that off pretty effectively. Because while you end with the heroes in trouble,
it also ends on a cliffhanger.
Yeah, but you still kind of you feel like you've gotten to the end of a motion. It's had a satisfying like climax and epilogue conclusion. You know there's more to tell, and you're excited for the next bit, but it doesn't feel like you've just stopped mid-action.
Oh yeah, you can easily,
which is really common.
You can easily watch Empire on its own as well.
Yeah,
which obviously I've done many a time, and it's just a great film. Like as a film, it's probably the best. As a pure film,
and just as a piece of cinema,
it is probably the best one from a technical standpoint. There's also bits in Episode 6 that are obviously technically better. The space battle at the end, things like that.
The subtext that I'm hearing from what you're saying, though, is that it's not your favourite.
It is and it isn't.
Okay, interesting. Break that down for me.
Obviously, like I say, from a technical standpoint, I think it's probably the best one.
Yep.
But I think A New Hope was always my favourite. As I've got older and appreciated stuff more, Empire became my favourite for a while. It's always changed. I just love these films.
And that's fair. And
there's different things I love about them. There's different things I don't. Like Revenge of the Sith, I liked it. Now I really like it because I see some of the stuff that other people don't really care about.
Yeah.
And there's also visual stuff that I just think is fantastic now. And then the music in that is amazing as well. I don't think it's the best one. I just really like it. And Return of the Jedi is becoming almost up with Empire. Empire is probably my favourite.
Okay. But probably as opposed to definitely is an interesting distinction.
But I enjoy watching all of them as much as the other, I think.
Okay.
One day, if I had to watch a Star Wars film, it would literally be sort of picking them out of the hat and be like, okay, I'll watch that one then.
Yeah.
I can watch any of them. I don't... Some, obviously... Let's not be silly about this. If Attack of the Clones came out of the hat, I'd be like, Maybe we'll see what else comes out next.
Yeah, maybe we'll put that over here and try the hat again. Yeah.
Sometimes I'm in the mood for Attack of the Clones. Like, not as in like I prefer to watch this now, but I can get through this now.
Yeah.
There's some good bits about it, but
definitely not your favourite.
Out of a bunch of great films, it's the least great.
Okay. That's fine. I would like it to go on record that I'm sure I will watch those again at least one more time in my life, but I really am not looking forward to sitting through Hayden Christensen trying to act.
I think what you're alluding to is the poetry of George Lucas that you're not looking forward to.
No, because
you could wish away your feelings, Tim.
But this is the thing.
You are haunted.
Oh my god.
By the kiss.
Why?
That you hope doesn't become a scar.
The kiss that you hope doesn't become a scar? Is that an actual bit of
That's
dialogue?
That's a line.
Fucking hell.
Do you feel sorry for Hayden now?
So I do feel sorry for him, but I also know that in those movies there are lots of other actors who do much better jobs with shitty dialogue, and that's like a good actor will make crap dialogue bearable.
But Natalie Portman is a great actress, and she does not come out of the films great.
No,
even in the second one as well, where she has probably her biggest role to play.
The thing is, like, I'm trying to think about where that sits in her career, though, because I'm pretty sure
it's not always great.
No, it's pretty early in her career, though.
It is, but Revenge of the Sith was 12 years ago, and she did stuff before that.
Yeah, no, I'm not saying it's the first thing she did.
Phantom Menace was very early in her career.
Yes.
After that, she'd kind of done stuff.
I don't know. I think like she is great, but I don't know whether she'd gotten there. And she's like, she's good. I don't think she's like incredible, but I also haven't necessarily seen lots of her work, and I don't just mean in that film.
Apparently,
like,
she's
overall.
great in that Jackie film that she was in this year.
Okay, I haven't seen her in something in a while.
Black Swan, I think.
Oh, actually, no, that's fair. She's very good in Black Swan.
Yeah. And that was a few years. That was only a few years after Sith.
Was it really? That,
5, I think.
No, that was
5 years.
That came out when I was in university.
2010, I think. That's what. Or 2009.
I want to say 11, but I don't know. I could check, but I'm not.
It wasn't long after Revenge of the Sith. I don't think.
No,
not too long.
I don't know.
But anyway, we're not talking about the prequels. So
no, good lord.
We'll come to that.
We will probably.
Because I have many things to say, not excuses to make, but reasons to give.
Apologetics.
Yeah, reasons to give for bad things in the prequels.
Yeah, we'll get to them. I think there is a lot of depth in like dissecting those in a way that is not.
I find them sometimes a lot more interesting to talk about. Because everyone agrees that the original trilogy is great.
Yeah.
Some people take a bit longer to get there. Tim.
So is that a thing?
No,
it only took me.
It's not your fault.
What, 25
it's not
years?
Your fault. I don't blame you for it.
They're like
I blame your parents.
Star Wars is sort of less my taste than a lot of things, though.
It's that kind of thing. Like when you get the most out of it, that's because it's your thing, and you're into it.
Yeah,
and you get into the world. If it's not your thing, you either don't like it or you just appreciate it for what it is and what it's done.
Yeah, and it's the thing of like I love watching. I say I love might be a strong word. I really enjoy watching those original trilogy movies because they are good films. They're also dated in some ways, and like not in a way that where they're like, oh, they're bad because they're old, but like they look old in the sense of like the aesthetic sensibility of the period. But they still.
We talked about dated stuff.
Yeah, and they still look good.
I think the thing with that criticism is it's not the film's fault it came out in 1980.
And it's not like I'm sitting there judging it, saying, "Oh, the film's bad." And I can watch a film and like appreciate the context it was in.
And sometimes because things are dated, it's being saved. Like if Jaws was made today, you'd see the shark. It'd be a CGI fest of the shark attacking. It would look shit. Yeah. Shark films are crap nowadays because they show everything. Because if you don't show it, it's assumed that people won't get the same excitement. Whereas the thing about Jaws is because it's left to your imagination, which is what makes better horror, in my opinion.
100%.
It's scarier because you're not seeing what happens, and then you get the ultimate reveal, which is now an iconic moment. It wouldn't be an iconic moment if you'd seen the shark an hour before. And
it's the thing of like nothing you.
But because it's
shown.
Because it's old and dated. And the shark broke all the time.
Yeah.
They couldn't use it, and therefore the film was made better because of it.
Oh, no, I agree with you. Like
that's how it can work for films in that way.
Yeah. I mean, when I'm talking about like my experience of going back to these, I'm aware that I'm watching something like I'm doing the mental work to go, let's appreciate this for when it was.
Yeah.
But then like other films of that period that push my personal like taste buttons more aggressively, like something like a Blade Runner, which was 82, or we mentioned this in the last one, like 2001. Like, which are very different kinds of movie, both from each other and from Star Wars. They aren't comparable, but they're of like a similar era bracket, vaguely. Actually, 2001's very old. Actually, that was pre-moon landing, so maybe that's a different.
2001.
Yeah, maybe that's actually like it's about a decade before, so maybe that's not really the same bracket. But you take my meaning. I have to do less work there because I'm enjoying some other part of it. Whereas a Star Wars,
I think it matters if you take more notice of that kind of thing.
Maybe
if it bothers you more.
It doesn't particularly bother me, where it does bother some people.
Yeah.
I guess
I know there's a lot of people, we know of some of them, who don't like watching old films.
Yeah, and I find that. I mean, like, I guess I can understand why.
I can understand.
I can understand
it because I wouldn't necessarily like to watch a black and white film now.
Yeah.
Sometimes I'm more open to it nowadays. But when I was younger, you don't watch older films.
And I think this is the thing where, like, when I was younger, that might have been more of a barrier of entry to entry for me with something like Star Wars. Whereas now I'm more grown up, it isn't really a barrier to entry, which is why I can go and appreciate them now. Yeah. But I'm never going to love them in the way that you do because I didn't encounter them as a young person. Yeah. I think that's the difference that exists there. I grew up with other things, and that's fine. Everyone just grows up with whatever.
Not everyone is going to grow up with Star Wars because not everyone's parents like the. I was showing.
You're really mad at my dad for not watching Star Wars, aren't you?
That wasn't a dig that time. But I was showing Star Wars because my dad loved it.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, what influences you as a child is basically what your parents like.
I mean, this is also true. Like, I'm a big Lord of the Rings fan because when I was about 9, my mum handed me her copy of The Hobbit and went, you should read this.
You get given stuff by your grandparents and parents, and that
shapes
influences you as a child.
And that's fine. That's how human beings
That's how life works, man.
But sometimes you can encounter things sort of outside of that spectrum because it's just like, oh, this is on, and then you just like on TV, and then you just watch it, and then you love it, and then you say, hey, Dad, could we watch that again? And then maybe your dad is like, oh, okay, my kid likes the Star Wars film, I guess I'll go buy the VHS for him or whatever. Like, there are other ways that can happen, but your parents or like whoever looks after you as a child, you know, your legal guardian, your grandmother, whoever you live with, will have some sort of shaping influence because when you're very young, they have to pay attention and like safeguard what you encounter, which is interesting. So like I never was able to watch Dragon Ball Z as a kid because
you weren't allowed.
I wasn't allowed because my dad didn't like it, and he was like, I don't think you should be watching that at the time when everyone else I knew was watching that show. So I never watched it, right? Which is fine, but then I went back and as an adult when I can, you know, make those decisions for myself. You know, I went back and tried to watch some of it. It was not very good, honestly. I started from the beginning and maybe it got better as it went on. But, like, I didn't have the patience of a child or the need to appease, like, oh, everyone's watching it, so I should watch it, that you have as a kid. So that would have maybe got me through some of the rough patch at the start. And instead I was just like, this isn't very good. Why am I wasting my time? You know, there's someone who, like, enjoys anime as a genre, just didn't latch on going back as an adult. So there are definitely things where it's like it's easier to get into as a child and to begin with as well. But it does shape it. But I think the thing that's interesting to me is that because that's true of everyone, you get a lot of diversity of like things. But even now, every generation has people discovering those original Star Wars movies for the first time and falling in love with them. Every generation has it, which I think speaks to something in those films that they are still able to like grab
this generation,
young people.
It's BB-8, isn't it? And now girls are falling in love with Rey. So you've got that because Leia's now older, so she's not going to be the one that girls latch onto.
But you've got that thing where I think even the original trilogy, like if I had a 4-year-old, 5-year-old kid now, maybe I wouldn't quite be ready to take them to the cinema. I don't know, depends on the child. But they might well have seen, especially like a couple of years ago, maybe they would have seen the originals on DVD, and that would have an impact on them. And then you go, oh, here's a new Star Wars movie, let's go and see Force Awakens. But like young people are still able to be grabbed by those original movies
Yeah.
from the 70s and 80s.
They still speak
Even
to
now,
kids,
they do.
which, as we talked about in the last one, the inherent themes that are in the film, kids get them.
Yeah.
Like, kids are smart, man.
Kids are smarter than a lot of people give them credit for, yeah.
And I think if more films realise that nowadays,
You'd have better
better
children's films. You wouldn't get shit like the Emoji Movie.
Yeah.
You wouldn't get as well. You would, but you wouldn't get as much of it because, and the kids films that are really do well, like a lot of the Pixar canon, understand that kids are able to deal with complex emotional and thematic and dramatic issues. Like Up is a terribly heartbreaking movie for most people who see it. Children are still able to engage with it.
Yeah.
They know that, and it's Star Wars. I think in its plot and its narratives is able to be something that reaches out to a younger person more easily.
Yeah, I agree. So Empire Strikes Back, for you, where does it stand for you in the original trilogy?
Out of the original trilogy, I think it's the one I like the best. But I all think they're pretty close for me as well.
Yeah.
I think Return of the Jedi is good, but the ending feels a little soft. I don't really know what I mean by that, which is not helpful. But it's like, it's good, and the ending is, like, the whole movie is maybe like a 7.5, and the ending's like a 7. But it's like the wrong place for the movie to dip a little bit. So I come away from that movie feeling like, that was okay, that we ended it, and I feel good about it. Not like, fuck yeah! The first one is brilliant, but also wearing itself the hardest in terms of how it's aged, because you can see as you go through the movies they're refining their processes.
Yeah.
They have more budget for the later movies, I expect, because the first one was made dirt cheap and no one expected it to do well.
Yeah.
And that helps it just look and feel better as well. Whereas Empire, to me, doesn't have like a moment where it dips. It still looks more polished than the first one. But also for me, like the character drama and the fact that it's a bit of a darker story, you get more like evolution of the characters, you get more tension to the characters. It's all of that rich character piece stuff that is very compelling to me, and maybe would have lost me as a kid, probably, in the way that it did you.
I think things don't hit you as a child
Yeah.
like they would now. Like the twist of Darth Vader being Luke's father, I have no idea how I felt about it. I think I just accepted it for what it was. But of course, that if that happened nowadays, you'd be like,
But
what
here's
the fuck?
Here's the thing. I don't remember a time when I didn't know that.
This is it's such a huge thing in pop culture now. Like, I am your father is everywhere.
Like, I can't know what that would be like,
Yeah.
but nonetheless...
It's one of the great wishes I have in life, that
To be able to watch that movie
I
without
could
knowing.
just go to in 1980, like time travel back and go and be like, what? Like, if you think about it, it is one of the great twists
Yeah.
of all time. How is this
Because it
guy?
has to be it has to be one of the great twists for it to have,
And
have
it's
existed
still-
in culture that
It
way.
is still a huge thing. Like, people are still quoting it.
Yeah.
Like, it's just one of those
It had
things.
huge impact, but like kids get a lot, but some of the like, oh, it's more about characters makes it less like for a younger kid. You want to pay attention less. I think it's a more adult-aimed story than the first one is, I think, which is maybe why I appreciate the plot of it more, because I came to them as adults, or as an adult. I am not multiple adults. There is only one of me.
Oh,
I'm not that M. Night Shyamalan film from recently, which I'm sure is insensitive to people with actual psychological conditions, though I haven't seen the film, so I could be wrong.
yeah. The actual twist, how they, if you want a bit of behind the scenes.
Yes, please.
No one knew. They pretty much decided. When did they decide? How far into it did they decide to make him? It's similar to the Alec Guinness thing that I told you.
Where they weren't even sure that was true to start with.
Yeah, I think the original line was, "No, Obi-Wan killed your father."
That's quite a different take on those
and that's
films.
how they didn't. They only told Mark Hamill, Irving Kirchner just pulled him aside, literally minutes before they were going to shoot the scene. Pulled him aside. By the way, Darth Vader's your dad.
What?
David Prowse, who's playing Darth Vader, he's going to say Obi-Wan killed your father, but what we're actually going to put in, because obviously they dubbed it with James Earl Jones in post, he's going to say, I am your father. That's how you react.
Oh my god!
So when he reacted, like, no. It's everyone else
beautiful.
Thank you. Everyone else must have been like, wow.
He's really going for it.
He's really going for it, considering it's just kind of like Oh no, it's just Obi-Wan.
Because they overdub it with James Earl. So they wanted to
It's
make sure
literally-
as few people knew as possible on the crew
Literally,
as well.
George Lucas, Irvin Kershner, the director, and Mark Hamill. Yeah,
Because Mark Hamill has to know to
because
give
Mark
the right
Hamill kind of
performance.
has to know.
But so even the physical presence of Darth Vader doesn't know what he's actually saying in the film. That's an incredible like split distinction there.
Yeah, of course, somewhere along the line it did come out because there's like
Yeah.
there's lines like "Father," like when they're talking across the Force. So yeah,
But the extent you would go to hide that,
yeah,
I appreciate that.
They,
as an
didn't, they
audience
didn't go to
member.
the extent they do nowadays. Is like the Rey stuff and Han Solo dying and things.
Yeah,
Spoiler.
but also it is actually a bigger deal now than it was then.
Yeah, apparently at some conventional or talk or lecture or something, David Prowse did come out in 1978 and say, "Oh yeah, he's his dad." I think he was making it up at the time. He didn't know.
He didn't know he was correct.
He didn't know how right he was.
Fucking hell.
So he almost spoiled it in 1978 or something like that.
Jesus.
And but I think this because George kind of had this story of like he wrote the whole thing and then just split it into three, which isn't true
That's
at all.
nonsense. No.
Because they didn't even know they were going to make a second one after Star Wars.
No, that's
Like they made it. Oh my god, it's successful. Well, we'll make another one. Then.
yeah.
George, continue the story. Like, oh, okay. Well, I'll write the next stuff.
Because the first one concludes so neatly.
Yeah. Thank God he kept Darth Vader alive at the end. Otherwise,
I don't know
there'd
what
have been
you'd have done.
problems.
Well, it'd have been a very different trilogy, wouldn't it?
Yeah, and also the Emperor as well. The Emperor is an interesting character because you get a line about him dissolving the Senate in A New Hope. You see a hologram of him in Empire Strikes Back and him talking in the original. It's not Ian McDiarmid. They
Yeah.
replaced him in the special editions. Before it's like some ape.
Some ape.
with huge ape eyes with a bloke's face and
Oh,
someone else.
like it's been like digitally shopped
it's
to
lots
be
of different things mixed into
composited.
create a face.
right. Okay.
And then you finally meet him in Return of the Jedi, and then he becomes one of the great villains of all time, in my opinion. So he's an interesting one that you never really see him, because Darth Vader's like the big guy, and then you realise in Return of the Jedi, oh my god, he is actually the understudy
Yeah.
to something else. And then you go from that's why Return of the Jedi is becoming a bigger thing for me, like the risks they took without changing Darth Vader's character, basically, which we'll get to. With Empire, that the twist is one that of all the twists in the world, you never would see it coming. There's no hint apart from when Luke is going into the cave
Yeah.
and has that sort of dream fight, and his face is in the helmet. But you could also take that as Luke could go to the dark side, not Luke is his son.
Yeah, which is the main way that
You could
reads
just
and is intended to
end
read.
up as Vader does.
Yeah, which is the whole thrust of his character arc is you need to chill out and be less like impetuous and arrogant, otherwise you could end up like Vader.
Yeah.
That's the whole arc. So it reads for that perfectly, but it has this duplicitous meaning that you discover
get it
later.
in Jedi when Yoda's talking. You weren't ready for the burden of knowing this truth. Like he's like, why didn't you tell me, you bastards?
Because it would make you behave in irrational, dangerous ways.
Because people have been like, oh, why does Obi-Wan lie to him? Because he would have done what kids tend to do when they get old enough. They try and seek their real paternal fathers out. He would have probably ended up being Vader's apprentice because he would have gone looking for him, or killed by the Emperor.
Yeah, like one or the other. Like it wouldn't have ended well for him because he wouldn't be prepared to encounter those people.
And so he can't know because they need. It's kind of manipulative in a way.
Oh, it is manipulative, but you
they
understand why they would
him
make
on
those
their side
decisions
to save the galaxy. So there's that.
Yeah, the thing is, like, I don't want characters in my stories to always make the best decisions. I want them to make decisions that make sense to that character's place. It's like, yeah, maybe lying wasn't cool, but you understand exactly why they would come to the conclusion they need to hide that information from him. It makes sense, and you don't.
As long as there was a reason for decisions to be made.
Yeah, like it's coherent
fine.
character
Even if it's
choices.
the wrong decision, as long as it fits with the character.
Exactly.
When characters do things for no real reason, they're just doing it because the plot says so. That's when you have.
That's
problems.
when it's like, well, why would you do that? It doesn't make sense. It's like sometimes it doesn't make sense for the character. If it does make sense for the character, just because it's not smart isn't the problem.
If you're unhappy with it, that's because you have knowledge, so you know not to do it. That's not the film.
Yeah.
that's you taking your place as the character, which is great.
But you have all this knowledge that the characters don't have.
You have knowledge that the character in the film can't have.
Yes, because you know about things that happen in the future because you're watching it for the third time or whatever.
Yeah, that's not a flaw of the film. That's just how it
So
goes.
that's a flaw of the person watching it, and I
Yeah.
think it's not
You're
popular.
watching it in the wrong way.
Well, it's not popular to say that people can be bad at watching films, but I think you can. I don't think that, and if you get enjoyment out of something, that's fine. I think if you're enjoying yourself, you're probably always doing it right to a certain degree. But there is this thing where a film will ask you to engage with it in a certain kind of way, to think about it in a certain kind of way, and it will do this in the way it sets itself up in that first act. And if you choose to engage with it disingenuously, you're kind of watching the film wrong. So I feel this way about the Jar Jar is a Sith Lord bullshit theory. It's the film isn't pointing to that at all. The film is asking you to consider Jar Jar to be an easily manipulated side character.
You've made up this funny theory, and now you're just using stuff.
And it's funny. It is funny to read if you consider it to be a joke. But if you take it seriously,
you can't take it seriously.
no. But if someone hypothetically were to, you are engaging with those movies kind of disingenuously because you're choosing to read them and to watch them and to engage with them in a way that is counter to the way the movie is asking you to engage with it. So the problem is if you choose to read it counter to and then complain about how the movie is bad, that's your fault because you chose not to engage with it in the way the film asks you to. I think that is my current working theory.
Sometimes it's great that you can read different things into films.
Yeah, and there are lots of films,
and there's lots of stuff in the Star Wars films that you can read into which may not be there, which the writers are happy for you to see because great.
Yeah. And there are lots of films where you are asked and encouraged by the film to, so I'm not going to tell you, interpret, take from what you will. They actively give you space to come up with theories about what was really going on. Right? There are lots of films that do that. It's maybe when you
Force
start.
Awakens is doing that with who is Snoke, who is Rey, the
Yeah.
Reylo theories.
Reylo.
Genuinely one, and it could happen. There's also some things that are reaching, but it could happen.
So play that one out for me because I don't know if I know which one.
The theory is basically that Rey and Kylo Ren are going to end up together.
Oh, okay.
And that they've got this sacred connection through the Force, and that is definitely there's definitely
some sort
there's
of
also
connection.
things where there's videos on YouTube, so you could just look at it. But there's also things like when they meet in the forest, you can see branches in the shapes of hearts all around. No, now you're reaching, and now you're starting to lose people.
That's reaching.
There's some
absurd.
There's some good stuff where he's reading her mind, and then she's connecting through him. Yeah, great. There's music cues where they intertwine the music so the themes match. Great, I can believe it. That's interesting. And then you're just fucking throwing hearts at me.
Yeah, but
no.
where that movie has left you space to speculate, it's fun to do, and I appreciate that it's fun to do, and where there's space for it, great, because the movie's asking you to go, ooh, you don't really know what's up with Rey's past, what do you think?
Yeah.
It's asking you to ask those questions of yourself, but it's the places where the movie is no, this is what's happening, and you're choosing to insert this other interpretation when the movie's been pretty clear about what it's telling you, is I think when it's frustrating and when the audience is being disingenuous. I'm going to tangent away from this if you don't mind, because you were mentioning about the themes interweaving. I think this is a good point to maybe talk about the music for a bit, because I know you want to. I know you love the music.
The music is there's this great podcast called Star Wars Oxygen.
Go find them and listen to them. I guess
Absolutely do, because it's absolutely fantastic. It's this podcaster and the guy who worked with Lucasfilms and LucasArts, David Collins, as a sound designer, and he's a musical guy, basically.
Yeah.
He's a musician. And they basically listen to all the soundtracks of all the films and find themes and callbacks that John Williams puts in, like his genius one in Phantom Menace, which I've been raving about every time we watch Phantom Menace with people, where he uses the celebration at the end of Phantom Menace is na 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 na.
Can a whole podcast just be you doing that now?
Thank you.
No, I don't remember it specifically, but sure.
I will show you after if you're that way inclined.
Cool.
It's the Emperor's theme in a major key, because the point is at the end of Phantom Menace, the Emperor has won. He's become Chancellor. In the scene, he's the only one who's got his huge wide smile because he has won, basically. And so the celebration is all the Emperor. So the theme in Return of the Jedi is na 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 Na, na, na. And so you get the children singing in the major key for this one. Stuff
That's
like that.
clever.
Stuff like that is freaking genius.
Yeah.
I love it. I love John Williams. And so it's cool. So and you get stuff like that. There's loads of things like that with stuff he's done and choices he's made with the music. Like the prequels, I like them. They are made even better because John Williams is making them
On
better
point.
through his music.
Yeah.
Like Anakin's Fall, it's fine. It's fine.
I love that. Anakin's Fall. It's fine.
The music makes it tragic.
Yeah. It's doing a lot of heavy lifting in those movies.
And George Lucas has always called it, like in Celebration when John Williams came on to do the Princess Leia theme as a tribute to Carrie Fisher, and then also some music. He said he called it the Star Wars special sauce, and he's in previous. That's why it's called Star Wars Oxygen, because he said this is the oxygen of Star Wars. This is what gives it life.
Yeah.
Because the theme, like what makes stuff in A New Hope so exciting, like these in the space battles, dun 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 dun. Like you remember all these catchy themes, and of course you've got the Imperial March,
which is iconic as anything.
Yeah, and everyone has a theme. Like the Emperor's got his theme. Like Luke Skywalker has his. Han and Leia have theirs. The music is some of the greatest ever, and he you can say it for all the films like Jaws, Jurassic Park, E.T.
Films that have happened.
Great films. And John Williams happens to do the music in all of them.
Yeah. I mean, there's a reason he is so widely regarded and respected as a brilliant film composer, because he's a brilliant film composer.
Yeah. This is why the Star Wars films are looked at as great films, because he has elevated... They're fun, pulpy films that get elevated. Some of it is in the story.
Yeah.
The themes surrounding it. A lot of it is because of the music, because the music is so good. And it creates the atmosphere that really adds to the film, to the viewing experience. So, there's my little tribute to John Williams.
Big fan.
I love the guy. And he's I've heard clips of him going, "Oh baby, oh I hope this works, baby." And I love people who talk like that.
What on earth are you talking about?
I've heard clips of John Williams.
Oh, John Williams.
John
okay.
Williams, not George Lucas.
No,
Baby.
Well, you just said them, and I'm like, them who? Like,
I said John Williams.
Did you?
Yeah.
Okay. This is gonna make for thrilling radio.
Oh baby.
Please stop. Please make it stop.
It'd be better if it was George Lucas. Oh baby.
Oh no. Nobody wants that. Nobody wants that. Not even him. Christ. I agree.
It'll be a sad day when he doesn't do any more films.
Yeah.
He didn't do Rogue One, and I think...
Do you think Rogue One suffered for that?
No, but I think you can tell.
Fair.
Some of the music's really good from Michael Giacchino. Some of it didn't really feel like it fit for me. It felt like music to a different science fiction film.
Oh, interesting.
Like when you see Vader's castle in Rogue One, and he's like, dun 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 dun.
Yeah.
It's like John Williams was bombastic, but it was also when Giacchino did it, it felt a bit over the top.
Yeah.
A bit out of place. Whereas somehow John Williams makes it bombastic and in your face, but in a way that fits the universe.
I think for me, the telling thing about the Rogue One soundtrack is that none of it, I don't remember any of it.
Yeah.
Like, none of it stood out as being like...
There is
I don't remember.
There is some good stuff, but you have to listen for it.
I didn't notice
Yeah.
that any of it was
I didn't
brilliant
notice
watching it.
I didn't notice it because you obviously watched the film and that's it.
Yeah.
And I agree. But obviously I would have listened to the soundtrack after.
Yeah.
And then you do notice there is some good stuff like Jin's
Oh,
theme.
I'm sure it's good. Like,
and
I didn't hate it at the time.
And I like there's a similar thing like we've talked about John Williams doing some genius things with score. There's a great when Vader's hacking down the rebels at the end. It's chanting, but it's in the Imperial March. It just slowed down.
Yeah.
So there's some good stuff like that. But that's just a couple of things. Like whereas if you listen to all the original trilogy, the music is fantastic, and the prequels as well. It's different, but it's still really good.
And it's of the same world. And I think
You've got Duel of the Fates, which is now a modern classic.
Yeah.
I love Across the Stars in Attack of the Clones. Anakin and Padme's love theme.
Yeah. And
you've got Battle of the Heroes. Revenge of the Sith is just full of it. Like when it covers the middle of the film, Anakin going to the dark side. You've got Padme's ruminations where that's that scene where they're both looking out across each other, and he finally decides to go and join. It's a silent scene, but you just got this wailing sound of the music. So from that to Anakin's betrayal to Anakin's dark deeds and Battle of the Heroes, it's just fantastic. It makes his fall all that more tragic in the music. There's this brilliant this cue of like this repeated music during when Obi-Wan's asking Padme about where he's gone.
Yeah.
And he's telling her about killing of younglings and all that. And it's fantastic. It's not in your face, it's just in the background.
Yeah.
Dun, 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 dun. It's just
Guides you emotionally.
You don't notice it, but because you can hear it, it's like, oh no. Of course, if you're into it, if you go into the Beatles thinking there's a shit, you're not hearing it because you're too busy listening to yourself saying how bad it is.
Well, there's a real problem.
Then you don't notice that kind of thing. But there's some genius touches like that in the prequels. That's one of the reasons I really like Revenge of the Sith. Visually, it's great. Yes, there's some dodgy dialogue. There's a bit of dodgy acting. I actually think Hayden Christensen's really good in the last half of the film.
Really?
Because I find with Hayden Christensen, when he knows what it is to do and he's happy and he's into that kind of thing, he can do it.
He just maybe didn't get any direction in the bits he was struggling with.
It's come out pretty recent. He wanted to go straight into it, playing a guy who was going to be Darth Vader.
Yeah.
Whereas George wanted him to be a little more complicated, a little more roguish. He's kind of supposed to be the Han Solo of the Jedi, and you get a little bit. He's in Attack of the Clones. Like Obi-Wan says, if you worked on your swordsmanship as much as your wit, you'd rival Marcy. But you don't get enough of that.
No.
There's not enough of him wisecracking because it goes straight into him being this lovelorn teenager with Padme coming out with "I wish I could wish away my feelings." Like, anyone's going to struggle getting that out.
Yeah,
he's not. I don't think he's the greatest actor in the world, but I don't.
Well,
I think there's
maybe it's not entirely his fault.
There's also scenes where he's fantastic. Like the one in Attack of the Clones where Shmi dies. Again, the music is swelling. You can really see what he's doing, and you can see it in his eyes, the pain, the anger, the regret. And then he looks up, and the music's and you can see like, oh fuck, and he's got it in his face. Like he does the anger and the dark side of Anakin really brilliantly, I think.
Fair enough. It's been a long time since I've seen those films,
yeah,
so it's difficult for me to like.
Well worth a rewatch. I'm not going to say you didn't watch it with a clear mind, but you would have watched it with the experience of everyone in the world saying how bad they are.
Well, yes. Also having,
and it's going to influence you because
straight from the others.
It influenced me at one point, but then I just thought, I'm bored of seeing how bad something is. Let's see if there's anything good in these, because I do love Star Wars. And I just thought, these aren't that bad. I've seen much worse than this.
That's fair.
Especially Revenge. Like, I can get it with Attack of the Clones. I understand that.
Yeah.
There's a lot of bad, specifically the dialogue and some acting and some of the effects.
It's also possible you have a higher tolerance for bad dialogue than I do as someone who writes dialogue for a living. Well, not for a living, but like as a professional.
Yeah.
That like.
But you can also spot bad dialogue. It doesn't take a genius to spot something terrible to read and write.
No.
What the thing is, and this is going to link back into the originals, which is where our discussion is.
Fuck.
The difference in the originals is you had guys like Harrison Ford saying, "You can write this shit, George, but you can't say it."
Yeah.
Carrie Fisher basically rewrote a lot of her scenes.
No, really.
George didn't really write much of. He wrote the story for all the films, but he didn't really write the scripts much because everyone's like, "George, you can't write." And so a lot of that got left to other people who could just do it better.
Yeah, who were more competent.
Yeah, and he took a big backseat in. He was basically just the producer, really.
Yeah,
he gave the ideas. Other people wrote it. He was just the producer for Empire Strikes Back. He had a bit more of he seemed to have a bit more of a hand on the shoulder of Richard Marquand, who directed Episode 6.
Yeah,
which is why you can see some elements of prequelish stuff because George has got a bit more of a grip on that one. Whereas in Empire Strikes Back, it's all Irving Kershner and Lawrence Kasdan. They really took that film and made that great.
And it is great as a result of the great people sort of working on it and this collaborative effort. And I think this is the thing that you have to keep coming back to with you can't make a film on your own.
Yeah.
All film is a collaborative effort.
I think the problem the prequels have on that in that regard is it wasn't that George told them, no, we're doing it my way. It's just everyone expected him to be like that. Because of what he'd done. Everyone was like, no, we've got to do what George says.
No one was willing to like step in and be like, maybe
you've got 19-year-old Hayden Christensen who comes along, which is back to the defense.
Oh, yeah.
He comes along. He he was like, oh, I kind of want to play this like Darth Vader, but George has told me no, so I'm not really going to argue. Whereas you've got 35-year-old Harrison, or 40-year-old Harrison Ford nearly. Like,
Yeah.
No.
Oh yeah, he's a grown-ass man. He's
I'm a
confident
man,
in
and I'm
himself.
going to tell you, no. I'm not saying this shit.
Yeah. Whereas, like, I mean, anyone who's 19 and like relatively young in
They're
an
kind of
industry
his
like
first
that,
films.
yeah, like
Yeah.
you aren't gonna have
You're not gonna
developed the
speak
same
up.
level of confidence to like speak up to George Lucas.
Yeah.
Like I fucking wouldn't when I was. I might not now, honestly, in that environment. It's just stepping into an industry like
Especially
that.
when no one else is.
Yeah, that's the thing.
You don't want to be the only guy.
Yeah, if someone
doing it.
and in some ways you expect more experienced actors on those projects to be able to do more of that, right? You know, you expect like okay, but like. Is Sam Jackson not going to speak his mind? Is Christopher Lee not going to speak his mind? But maybe they come out a lot better in those movies than some of the other performers.
Well, Samuel
because
L.
they're
Jackson
more
doesn't
competent.
come out of it great.
No, I don't remember, honestly.
Christopher Lee is fine.
Yeah,
Ian
but
McDermott is the only one who comes out of those group of films. Even Ewan McGregor doesn't come out brilliantly. For me.
No.
He's known as really good because he does play a good Obi-Wan. He's got some dodgy acting moments as well. Because sometimes dialogue is just so bad that
you can't do
you
anything
can't
with
do
it.
anything with it. Ian McDermott is just, I think, as well, he's a well-known, respected actor.
Yeah.
By that point, so he's obviously going to change some stuff. He's also incredible as the Emperor and as Palpatine. Like, there's scenes that are the best in Star Wars, full stop, where he's in manipulating everything. But like I say, we'll get to it.
Yeah, like you say, for an episode that is supposedly about Empire Strikes Back, we're talking a lot about the prequels. But I guess you have lots of thoughts about those, whereas
It's some stuff that just dips into it, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It links to it all.
we talking about like a movie like Empire, which is a lot of people regard as the best because it's a brilliant film. At a certain point, you run out of things to say, I think, because you're sitting there going, and it was really good, and I liked that it was good. Isn't that an interesting conversation about how we both think the movie was good?
Yeah.
I don't have any sort of points to contend with you on or arguments to make. It's just, it was good. It was good.
It's just a great film. And that's, unfortunately, with great films, sometimes there's not a lot you can say about how great they are because everyone knows.
Yep, and yet we've been going for about 55 minutes on that recording. So we've done all right thus far. Maybe this one is one that ends up being a pinch shorter.
Yeah. I think with Empire Strikes Back, it's more of a character piece. It's better written. It's a new hope, but everything's a little more polished and a little slightly better. Like the effects as well. They're able to do more with them.
It is a huge step up in terms of some of the effects. Like the lightsabers look like you think of lightsabers as looking.
Yeah, what they're doing with the model ships, they're spinning and flipping and doing the loops and stuff. It's all a lot more impressive
Yeah.
to look at.
The
Darth
lightsaber
Vader
fight is
Darth
actually
Vader
good.
Darth Vader's a better character
Yeah.
because in the first one, he's just basically a henchman
Yeah.
who goes around just basically like, this will be a day long remembered. And Tarkin's just like, shut the fuck up, fool.
He says some cool lines and chokes shit,
Yeah.
right?
And with which he does even more, but with more authority in Empire Strikes Back.
Partly because Tarkin's done.
Yeah.
Right? Like, so he is, as far as you know, this, like, the primary villainous force left in the Empire. Because you don't really, you only get hints of the Emperor.
What they've done, because basically it's his fuck up
Yeah.
in A New Hope. Like, he straps the homing beacon onto the Falcons so they can follow it and then zap the Rebel Alliance. Unfortunately, because they haven't just zapped the Falcon in the first place,
Everything goes to shit.
it gets blown up. So it's his fuck up. And they've done the Darth Vader comic that they've done in New Canon does cover this. Like, the Emperor's not pleased.
You wouldn't be.
And he basically puts him through this series of tests and replacements that he has to pass to prove his worth again.
Oh, interesting.
And he does that because everyone's like, he fucks up. It's his fault that the Death Star gets blown up. Why is he in a higher position of command in Empire Strikes Back? And so it tells the story like, oh, he's kind of had to earn this back again. It's like, and as a reward, he gets his own flagship, Empire Strikes Back, and that's why he's in that position of power. So yeah, it's a good comic to look at. There's some dodgy stuff as well, as all comics are going to do.
Well, yeah, like all of the sort of extension stuff that you get, like you toss a coin, right? You hope that it's good, but some of it's going to be brilliant and some of it's going to be trash.
And the thing with comics is there's going to be elements where they're just experimenting with stuff that might work.
Yeah.
Because they can, because there's less risks to it.
They're true. The comics
can't
reading audience is
experiment
quite
with
small as well.
You can't really experiment much with films because
They're going to be the
they're gonna be
things
critical.
held up
they're
as
going to be
the
panned
icons.
if you have really dodgy stuff. But yeah, the comics, there's a lot of them that are really worth checking out if you're that way inclined.
And well, I mean, looking at my shelf over there, I am certainly that way inclined in terms of comics. None of them are Star Wars yet, but who knows what the future will hold.
There's a new Darth Vader one now because that run finished.
Yeah.
There's a new one now which picks up at the end of Revenge of the Sith, and it's like how he got his first lightsaber and how he trained the Inquisitors, which are now in Rebels.
If there are any
The
that you
animated
would
show.
recommend, I would welcome recommendations.
Well, the Vader comic.
The Vader comic. What is it called? Do you know?
It's just called Darth Vader.
Oh, that's
And
nice and
it's-
helpful. It's going to be really
it's
easy
from-
to find, isn't it?
Yeah, and it's just from 2015 to 16 or 17.
Okay.
And then there's a new one which is 17 onwards.
Who is it? Marvel publishing those?
Marvel do it, yeah.
Yeah, I thought so.
Yeah.
Oh, because
And you-
Marvel
and
are
you
owned
can
by
read-
Disney as well, obviously.
Yeah, and you can read them all online, which is how I do it.
Oh, cool. Well, yeah, like Comixology, you can get them on my Kindle or something. Or
You can do that, yeah. There's the Star Wars run, which I haven't checked out a lot of. Recently, there's been some dodgy stuff with like magic vampires and things, and Luke Skywalker getting possessed, which doesn't really fit. But
oh well.
other stuff is really good, like where
Yeah.
he finds Obi-Wan's journals, and that's how he learns stuff through the Force without even meeting Yoda, which is
cool.
why you can grab the lightsaber out of the snow because he's been learning stuff from Obi-Wan
That's,
through his journals and
that's
things
novel.
like that. So
So that probably brings us to a decent sort of round off point. There is a thing that we didn't do in episode 2, but maybe we should try and pick up again for episode 3, which is like a top 3 thing.
okay, yeah.
So I don't know whether we're going to do a third episode on Star Wars, whether we want to put this in now. Possibly we can just record it now and
Well, we're
chop
going to
it
talk
in whenever
about
we want.
Return of the Jedi, aren't we?
Yes, so we're going to definitely do a Return of the Jedi episode.
Yeah.
So I don't know if you want to save top 3 for the end, or if you just want to of this sort of
We
three-parter.
could do a top 3 different things because there's so many things in Star Wars.
There
We could do
are.
top 3 characters, lightsaber battles,
Okay,
films.
cool. So is there one that you think is interesting or that you have some thoughts on?
Lightsaber battles is an easy one to come to. I
Okay,
think.
okay. Top 3 lightsaber battles then. If you have a thought in your head, maybe go first because I'm trying to remember them all.
Okay, I'm happy to go. I think third favourite is Empire Strikes Back. I think.
The final one.
Yeah, there's only one in Empire Strikes Back.
I don't remember.
Technically, there's only one.
That's
There's
fair.
the dream sequence, but it's fantastic, especially when Vader finally gets pissed off and starts hacking away. And of course, you get the twist. So dramatically, it's probably the best one. Return of the Jedi is also close because there's a lot going on, but it's not quite as the spectacle of it is not quite as good
Uh-huh.
as Empire, because with the classic lightsaber duel, you need it to be as well as the death of being hacked. You need to be able to fall off stuff.
That's true. There needs to be the chance of falling to your doom, I suppose.
Yeah. So there's that. I don't know if you want to do a third one or you want me to just do all of them.
Oh, no, you give me your 3,
Okay.
and then I'll do my 3.
My second one is Revenge of the Sith, Anakin and Obi-Wan.
Okay.
The Emperor Yoda one is great as well, but this one it's got the setting of Mustafar, the Battle of the Heroes music, fantastic, and the choreography is great. Some of it gets a bit over the top, which stops it from being number 1 for me. But apart from that, it's brilliantly done, tip top. Unfortunately, not as tip top as number 1,
Number 1.
which is the Phantom Menace. This is just perfect. It's not overly choreographed, but it's choreographed well enough that the spectacle is fantastic. The music, Duel of Fates, is great. It's got Darth Maul, who's brilliantly done by Ray Park,
Brilliant.
who's leaping around. You've got the brilliant beat in the middle where they all separated by the force field, and you've got Maul prowling around like a lion. Where you see the difference brilliantly between the Jedi and Sith, where Qui-Gon's just sat there meditating and Maul's like a caged tiger, and you've got the drama of Qui-Gon getting killed, and finally the brilliance of Obi-Wan just racing at him, and in the end where even though Maul has the high ground, Obi-Wan
Did you really just make a high ground joke?
You've got to, haven't you?
I mean, if you want to get into it, he also has a red arm.
Well, that's it. Obi-Wan doesn't recognise him, does he?
No. Oh, God.
So yeah, that's the best one for me.
Okay.
To watch and to be in, that's the best one. Phantom Menace.
Okay. So, my lightsaber battles. The caveat for this list comes with I haven't seen all of the movies relatively recently, so I don't really remember all of them quite as well as you do. But these are the ones that have stuck in my mind having seen them.
For everyone else,
over
I
the
watch
years.
Star Wars quite regularly.
Yeah, that's you. It is your religion in some ways.
Yes.
I
For
mean,
a man who has no religion.
For a man who has no religion. So I'm sort of less familiar with some of them, especially some of the latter prequel fights. But number 3 So I think it's I'm trying to remember now. I think the one that I'm thinking of is actually Return of the Jedi.
Okay, Luke and Vader.
Luke and Vader.
Okay.
But I might be conflating bits of that and bits of Empire Strikes Back's
Well,
fight.
does Luke have a green lightsaber in your memories? Or a blue one?
You'd think it would be easy, but like the some of the images I'm thinking of being really potent are like Vader sort of coming out of the shadows with his.
Right. You might be thinking of Empire Strikes Back.
I might be thinking of
Because
Empire.
because he gets kicked down by Luke, and then that's when he comes out of the shadows and just holds his lightsaber and then just starts flinging shit at Luke.
And the other memory I have of the one that I really liked from that original trilogy is Luke being quite aggressive and like it looking a bit more visually dynamic. So maybe it's actually
That's Return of the Jedi.
Okay, so
he's hacking at Vader.
So I've conflated the memories of two different fights together into one fight.
Yeah.
So I think Return of the Jedi is the one that I, at the time, was the most visceral of those original ones for me, and that was a bit more compelling. So that's my number 3. We go with Return of the Jedi.
Okay.
But I've somehow put the looming Vader image in there in my memory. I need to watch them again.
I think, as I was saying, like Return of the Jedi comes close, but it's not quite for the spectacle. It's not quite there with Empire, but in the same way that you have, they're very close because there's a lot going on in Return of the Jedi as well, and there is some great stuff with Luke giving into his anger for that split second and just hacking away at him, and that's fantastic as well.
So yeah, we'll go with Return of the Jedi for my number 3. My number 2 is Phantom Menace's final fight. It's just, as you have said, it's brilliant. It's beautifully choreographed. All the backflips and shit. Like to me, it's the best bit of that film, but it might be the best bit of the prequels. Honestly, for me,
it's up there
in my memories. Like it's exciting, it's tense, it has its own arc, it's visually impressive, but it's not completely overwrought.
Even people who don't like the prequels cannot deny that is, if for them it doesn't feel Star Wars. This is where it finally feels very Star Wars.
Yeah,
you're on catwalks where you can fall to your death. It's the first time you see the double blade lightsaber. The shot of the doors opening and Maul just looking up. And then suddenly, like, vroom,
yeah. No, it's beautiful, and like the choreography of having like him be a dominant force, even though he's outnumbered because of the weapon he's using, it's beautifully done. That is incredible, and definitely takes my number 2 spot. But it doesn't quite have the same feel for me as my number 1, which is. The fight between Obi-Wan and Vader in everything. No, that's
I was actually thinking, are you really going to
get a fucking joke? No, it's terrible. For me,
it's not terrible. It's a product of its time.
It's a product of its time.
It's one old man and one man who's wearing this suit for the first time, flinging around swords and not really knowing what they're doing. That's the.
It's not good.
That's the problem with that one.
No, that was a joke. My actual number 1 favorite is the climactic fight from Force Awakens.
Oh, okay.
And there are a couple of reasons for this. One, the sort of the way it's using color palettes and the way it's shot is very viscerally engaging to me. But the main thing for me is the choreography, because it's not slick and impressive, but it's the kind of choreography which is really good at expressing like character beats. Like you start with Finn with this lightsaber who has no fucking clue what he's doing. And you can tell because he's just swinging it like a baseball bat.
And you can see that Kylo Ren's playing with him. In the same way that Vader's playing with Luke.
Yeah.
He's just like doing all these ducks to get away and just going... And as soon as Finn lands a lucky shot, Kylo's like, okay.
Well, I'm done with this shit now.
Done with your spine. Goodbye.
Yeah. And it's very compelling. And then it's got a dramatic beat where you think, is he going to die? You don't think he's really going to die. But it's like, oh, he's in trouble. And then... Kylo's trying to grab the lightsaber and struggling, and then Rey gets it, and it's a cool dramatic beat.
It's goosebumps.
It is, and
because again, it's the music swelling up with the Force theme. Rey holding an energy just gets in and ignites like it's like, oh,
it's the big it's her character's like fist punch the air victory moment.
Yeah.
So like the whole, and then the way that the fight is choreographed from after that point, where like she's trying really hard but is clearly untrained. He's trained but clearly reckless and dangerous. Like every motion tells you about who those characters are. Yeah. Also, just like the snow forest is such a beautiful setting. Like it's a different kind of visually impressive to the episode 1, and it's the kind of visually impressive that maybe is a bit more me. But I love the sort of the narrative arc that fight has.
It didn't make my top 3, but it's definitely in the top 5.
Yeah, that's fair.
Like, it's not far off. It's just not quite as.
That's fair.
But obviously, again, Force Awakens is your. Film.
For me. That's the
So
one that I love
that's
the
where you're
most.
gonna
So it
tap into it.
gets some weight because it's in the film that I have the most attachment to as well.
And you've also got the great movie. He has her over the cliff, and for me, she's tapping into the dark side.
Yeah,
I think.
I kind of agree with you.
I don't think it's just the Force that she's feeling in that moment. I think she's tapping into her dark side then, and that's why she, in the same way that Luke overcomes Vader in Return of the Jedi, she starts to overcome Kylo because he's half dying as well. He's been shot by the bowcaster.
Yeah, which is the only way that everyone doesn't end up dead in that fight. Yeah, because he's injured.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. Come on. He was killing her already. Like she spends most of their fight running away from him, and that's how she ends up over the cliff.
But I also I love the conceit of him punching himself in his own wound to psych himself up. Yeah. It's partly that hurts and you're trying to put pressure on it.
He wants the pain,
but also he's trying to psych himself up into this berserker rage, which really fits with the weapon design.
It fits with his character because he's a guy who wants to tap into the dark side, but he can't quite get there. So he's like, "Come on, I want to tap into it." Pain.
Every part of that for me is so viscerally the whole of the choreography links so well with character that I find it very compelling. So that's going to be my number one, at least for now. There are movies on their way out, and who knows? Yeah, who knows what the new one will bring in a couple months.
I have a feeling we're going to see some pretty tasty stuff with Luke.
I hope.
Ignite the Green.
Hashtag Ignite the Green.
It is a thing.
Is that's a thing?
It is a thing.
Oh Christ! Okay, so presumably he will still have his green saber.
Yeah, he does. Yeah, it's been because people were like, but he throws it away in Return of the Jedi. No, he comes back and it's clearly clipped onto his belt. He took it. He has the green. Ignite it, Luke.
Of course, it's also possible that he just built a new one since then.
It's possible,
but there will.
I don't want to think it's possible.
But even if he has built a new one, he'll probably have built a new one with a green lightsaber because.
Why would he build a new one anyway?
Because he threw the old one away? I don't know.
But he didn't. He went and got it back, Tim.
Okay.
As I've just explained.
All right, fine. Jeez, don't let me step on your toes or anything.
In the same way that the end of Rogue One is... Well, you were with me in the cinema when we watched
it. Yes.
You know.
I know exactly how much you were having fun.
Luke Skywalker doing that is going to be similar. Because it's in the same way, this is his amazing character, Luke Skywalker. It's Luke doing it.
Yeah.
And it's going to look amazing because it's modern as well. It's going to be like, oh yeah.
That probably wraps us up for part 2 of the ongoing Star Wars special. We will be back eventually with hopefully a third part, ostensibly about Return of the Jedi, but probably just about Star Wars in general again, much like the previous 2 have been. We do hope you'll join us for that as well. Thanks for listening.
Goodbye.